Okay, it's supposed to cycle through, so hopefully it's going to do what it's supposed to do. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Franklin Escobedo. I'm the Community Services Director here at the Larkspur Library in Larkspur, California. We're going to give it a couple more minutes as people come into the room. Before we get started, today we're here to meet author Andrea Devaux, a local author. We're going to actually take questions today, and we're going to unmute you so you can ask your questions directly. So just raise your hand when it's time to ask questions. If you're shy and don't want to talk on camera, you can always use the Q&A or the chat box, and I'll relay those questions to Andrea. We're also recording today's event, so if for some reason you do end up getting dropped off the call or some technical issues, we'll send out a link to the recording that you can watch on the library's YouTube page. So again, welcome. I'm Franklin Escobedo. I'm the Community Services Director for the Larkspur Library and Recreation here in Larkspur. So just give it a few more minutes as people come into the room. And thank you for joining us this afternoon. This is our first Meet the Author event. I was really excited to come across Andrea Devaux on Nextdoor. So if you guys use Nextdoor here in Larkspur, sometimes you'll see me posting events, but this is how I also discover our neighbors and our authors. So, and if you do know an author or you are an author and you would like to do one of these, just send me an email to the library and we'll set something up for you. So we're going to stop the share. So welcome everybody. So thank you for joining us today. So we're here with Andrea Devaux, who has her new book out, and I would hold up a copy, but I just have a digital copy at the moment. We're waiting to get our copy here at the library, but Andrea has it there, and it's and I think it's very appropriate because I'm a shy person doing these presentations, and it's called No Such Thing as Off the Record, a survival guide for public speaking and media engagement. So please welcome Andrea Devaux, and I guess I really just want to give you a chance to introduce yourself and talk about yourself and what led you to writing this book.
Thank you so much, Franklin, and great job on your public speaking so far. It can be a very nerve-wracking experience, and you know, and I will actually discuss some of that in a little bit. But just a little bit about me. As Franklin said, my name is Andrea Devaux. I am a local author. I live in Green Bay on the Corte Madera Creek, and I've been working in film production and as a public speaking coach for over 2 decades. I won't go into the details on that. But needless to say, I've been surrounded with on and off camera experiences for a long time. And the reason I wrote this book actually was because about, you know, in the early to mid 90s, I was working in a job on doing media. And I was working with high-powered doctors and training them to go on camera. And this book, actually, the beginnings of this book, not what it is now, but the nugget for what became this book was a booklet that we would hand out at the end of these trainings. Now, it was way condensed, just sort of bullet points on, remember to, you know, sit with your butt back in the chair and lean forward and smile more and powder the bald spot, and, you know, all of these things that the doctors could look over right before going on camera. And it sat on my desktop because I'd been working and mucking around with it for years. And I always said, geez, I want to make that into an actual book. And so, you know, 25 years later, here we are. So if any of you are authors and are wondering, how do you get that from just being on your desktop to actually something in the physical world? I have a little pointer for you, and that is an organization called Publishizer. Publishizer, okay? I think it's publishizer.com. They help would-be authors get their act together and get all the ducks in a row, come up with how many words, what's this about, who's your competition, why would people want to read this? And it really caused me to get up to speed and bring that desktop booklet into the real world and fill it out and you know, add in my stories and my experiences and so on. So that's a rather long-winded answer for you, Franklin, but that's how and why I created the book and why it now has seen the light of day.
So it took you a long time to get to this point, but there had to be, I mean, this was the catalyst for it, was working with these doctors, but you work with so many other people that are working, who are doing talks and talking in public. And this, I mean, I know this is different because we're in this new universe of online talking. And normally we would do this in front of everybody in the library. I think this is, how do we, I mean, there's a lot of great tips in this book. That's what I really can start off saying. But I think I mean, for all of you listening too, Andrea, how would you say some of the best pointers of the book to help people to now have to do this on camera, who may have been nervous in getting in front of people? What would you think are the best or the key elements that they could take away from reading your book?
Right. Thank you. Yes, I think I got the gist of that. So what are the main nuggets? Well, of course, reading the book is only a 2-hour read, so it's not a big investment of your time, and it really will help you get up to speed. But there is a few pointers I can give, you know, anyone, of course, most of us right now, as we speak, are on Zoom, and that's our new normal. You know, so there's many things that I do recommend now, because most of us are on camera, whether we want to be or not, you know. And so think about where the camera is, for instance. Now, this one is a very easy one. I see a lot of, now, I don't know if you guys are on Zoom a lot, but I am quite a bit, whether it's coaching or whether it is, you know, I run a women's business networking group, and I'm the president and co-founder of that group. So we have like 40 people all on Zoom in the room. I see all these little squares with crazy stuff going on in the background, right? You know, we're not just talking about dogs and cats, you know, or weird statues in the background, Franklin. But let's use this. I'm using my iPad. It's on a stand right now. Okay, let's use this as an example. I see this sort of thing all the time. Okay, now this is what we call in the film industry headroom, right? And when we want to cinch down on that, we call it giving someone squeaky iPad stand here. We call that giving someone a haircut. Okay, so we really don't need a lot of room above the head. That's all like wasted space. We want to see more of you and more visual information. So that's the first thing. That's the easy fix. Another one is, I mean, I don't know if you guys like extra chins. Anyone like extra? No, nobody likes extra chins. So having a situation where the camera is below you and you see all of that, like you get more chins than you really wanted. So also having the camera just a smidge higher, like not a lot where it looks extreme, it makes your forehead look too big, but just enough that it has a more flattering look, okay? I think we can all agree that we all want to look our best when we're on camera, right? And now another thing that you can think about is your engagement. Now, a lot of people, and I see this all the time, they want to come across relaxed and comfortable on camera. So they do this. They sit back. Again with the more chins. So what you want to do is sit with your butt back in the chair and just lean forward, and it has a much more engaged presence on camera. So well, that's a starter.
We were talking about that beforehand too, that I think, like, I tend to look at you on the screen instead of looking in the camera, when I should really be looking at the camera, so everybody who sees me talking sees me talking. And so I don't look distracted as I'm looking off to the sides and this stuff that makes us look distracted when we're trying to engage each other, which we normally would be doing in a live face-to-face meeting versus a Zoom meeting. But I think so. This background has really helped you understand. I mean, I think this really lends itself to public speaking, that you came from a film background, that production background. So you know all these great tips and tools. And you go over those in the book. Where were some of the other things, especially for someone like myself who gets really nervous talking in front of people?
Yes, you are not alone, Franklin. Most people are terrified to give a talk in public or on camera or on Zoom. And, you know, of course, there's a lot of noise that goes on in our heads because we want to put out the best possible impression. We want people to like us. But the fact is that while we are judging ourselves and thinking about all those things that we need to be doing, or, you know, am I doing a good job, or, oh my gosh, that thing I said was useless, or whatever, right? All of that is noise going on in your head. And while that noise is happening, it's very hard to remember what you actually came to talk about. Okay, so I don't know if now's a good time, but I actually have a chapter in the book. It's a short read, specifically geared toward overcoming fear. Would you like me to read that?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, great. Excellent. So it's just, again, all of these things in the book are very short, to the point, snippets of information. This one is called Overcoming Fear. Have you ever experienced a beam me up Scotty moment when you were the speaker? For those of you too young to remember, that was a Star Trek reference. You get in front of an audience or camera, and suddenly you have the urge to be transported off of this planet and to be somewhere, anywhere, far, far away. If you're nodding emphatically, you're in good company. Most people undergo this out-of-body experience, especially when they're relatively new to giving a speech or public speaking. Much of this is triggered by concern over how you're coming across, whether you're doing it right, and whether your listeners will find you likable. Those thoughts playing in the back of your mind compete for brain time, distracting what you had prepared to say in your talk. If you allow them to dominate, they can literally take you out of the game. So what can we do? This is a top question clients ask me: how to handle those nerves and self-doubt. One of the most effective remedies I have found to help overcome all of these thoughts and fears is simply becoming aware of where you're putting your focus. Now, when our focus is on ourselves, we're judging our own performance. It inhibits our ability to truly be in the moment. Ultimately, it can cause us to forget what we came to say and reinforce the dreaded message we say to ourselves, such as, I suck at this, or everyone hates me. This may sound simple, but it's practically magic. When you put your focus on your audience, on helping others, and really being of service, it will change everything. Say to yourself mantras such as, I'm here to help. I'm here to give these folks great information. I'm excited to be here. And I'm delighted to be given this opportunity to share what I know. So that's one of the chapters. And I think it's really powerful because when we put our focus on helping other people, we take the focus on our own negative self-talk. And that's what I'm doing with everyone here. My job, because I have those same fears, but my job is to be of service. So how can I help you? And oh, I just wanted to also address the whole looking at the camera versus looking at, so right now I'm seeing Franklin, so I'm reading him. And that means my eyes are not on the camera because I'm like looking to him as, you know, do you want me to keep talking or not? Or so you can also, as is that, you can say, I'm actually choosing not to look at the camera. I'm choosing to look at this person because I want to get your reactions. But I would say in a situation, let's say you're giving a speech and it's not to one specific person and you're not needing to read the room, then you would want to choose, just like what I'm doing right now. I'm looking directly at the camera, and that will have the audience feel like you are speaking directly to them. It's a little bit weird, but you know, it definitely is a more powerful method of coming across to others, right?
Yeah, no, it's a great, and I think that this also leads into your chapter about coaching, which I really like the coaching of practicing and finding someone to be that coach to help someone get over their nerves, to get past their fear, and to talk, and also to, you know, if somebody in your household who just wants to listen to you. I think that was it's a great part of the book that is really talks about that helps me. And I honestly, this is I mean, for this is the perfect Zoom for it, because again, like I said, I'm not I get nervous in front of crowds, and even though it's a Zoom talk, I get nervous in front of the little camera because my mind thinks about all the different people who could be watching this. And this, I love, Andrea, I love this book because it goes over all these things in little chunks that you can read really quickly. And I think too, it's one of these books that I know for myself will be rereading and rereading, because this is not my last time being in front of an audience. And it's just, even though I've been doing this for a long time, we tend to get nervous. And I think people who need this little, I think you did a great job of expressing that kind of stuff, that how we can get over it in the detail in the book, like you said, in those little bite-sized chunks that people can read. Where can people, I mean, where can they go to find your book?
Pretty much everywhere. Yay. My publisher, Mascot Books, and certainly it's available on their website. I just found out about this other online venue called bookstores.org. Let me just double check that information. It's bookshop.org. And what's great about this retail site, and they've got my book on sale there actually right now. They're a relatively new retail site that gives back part of the sales to independent bookstores. So that's really awesome. And of course, if you don't care, then there's always Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target. And that, you know, if you live locally, then you can get one directly from me. And of course, your local library, right? Right, Franklin?
We've ordered a copy. We're waiting for it to come so people can check it out, and hopefully it'll get lots of use. Don't forget about Book Passage and Copperfields and Larkspur Landing. So we have these bookshops that are still open to the public as well. I mean, I think too, you've been writing for a while, and I'm hoping you're writing another book, right? And I know we've talked about this again, about an updated version. Even though you've just published this one, you're already working on the next one, right?
Well, I do plan to, once you know, we kind of get through this pandemic, I would like to do a second edition, which would include specific chapter on Zoom, because that's where we're going. And even when the cat's out of the bag on that, even when we go back to quote unquote normal, whatever that ends up being, the fact is that people have learned that they can do and accomplish a lot via Zoom or other, online venues. And they don't necessarily need to be driving their cars or flying all over the world to get things done. So this is definitely going to be staying. And so I would like to specifically address that. Now, that said, I do have the first half of my book is dedicated to being on camera. And a lot of it, of course, is regarding being interviewed for the news media or on radio. Right, so it's got all of these things that you could consider when you're having to give an interview on television. The second half of the book is live. So the first half does talk about what to wear, what to do with your hair, things to think about, remove shiny labels, don't have any like big statement pieces that might clunk against the microphone. I mean, all of these things are covered, but Zoom is a whole extra animal because we aren't in a professional studio. We're at home. And that has a whole new set of challenges. So I will definitely do that. I do have another book. Actually, it's not a book. It's going to be a series, hopefully on Netflix or some other streaming service. During my younger years, I spent 5 years biking around the world with my girlfriend. And I kept journals that whole time. And we spent a lot of time in the Middle East. I sailed from Africa to Thailand during that time. A lot of crazy things happened. And I would love to turn that into a television series, lots of adventure. Of course, that is a work in progress. And I think once my baby, who's now 17, gets out the door, that's going to be something I kind of attack full force.
That's great. I mean, so do you want to take some questions now? Does anybody in the audience have some questions? You want to use the raise your hand feature and then we can unmute you to ask a question? You're good, Alyssa. You could just unmute yourself. Did it work?
I think Elisa is still muted.
Yeah, like it says ask to unmute, and I've done that.
Yeah, you've got to, Elisa, you've got to hit the microphone. You've got to click on that
in the bottom corner.
Oh, hi, can you hear me?
Yay!
Yeah, now we can
How
hear
are
you.
you?
Good, how are you?
Good, we know each other.
So my question to you is because, you know, I have a lot of kids, and actually my children are on Zoom a lot for school and organizations, and I lead some child-centered meetings myself for Girl Scouts and things like that. Like, do you have any tips for like engaging with children or younger audiences engaging with each other?
So 2 questions there. One is how to engage with a younger audience, and the second was how to get that said audience to engage with each other.
Yes.
Got it. That's not necessarily in my wheelhouse, but when I am addressing, I mean, when we are addressing our audience, we always want to know who are we speaking to and what's of interest to them. So, you know, even though I might have certain things that are interesting to me, I might like to discuss politics. I'm sure that a bunch of 9-year-olds don't care, right? So I might put the focus on asking them questions to get them to interact. Like, what was your favorite part about the summer? Or what do you like? What sports do you like to play? Or do you like to cook? Or, you know, what are your hobbies? Get that somebody just to come forward and say something, and then ask the others who are listening in, who else likes to do that? Who else likes to bake cookies? Who else likes to play softball? Or so on. And then you can kind of get them interacting with each other. There's a technique we use called, we have to, like, our audience is listening to this radio station, and we call it WIIFM. And that means what's in it for me, right? So you have to always think about what would be of interest. And at least because you have a gaggle of children, you definitely know what's on their agenda, right?
Yes, yeah, good point. Yeah, that is a good point. I like that because I do try to run brownie meetings, and the more, you're very right, the more I get the girls to talk to each other, the more engaged they are. That's a good, yeah. All right, good, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You know, it does bring up another point, if you don't give me just another minute, Franklin. When you are in, you know, like, let's say you're leading a workshop. So this could be taken out to, like, when you're at a conference or something. It's super helpful as a speaker to set up something like, who here you know, who here got stuck in traffic and who didn't, you know, or anything like that. Okay, turn to your neighbor and talk about what was the best part of your day, or turn to your neighbor and talk to them about where you want to go on vacation, or, you know, you choose something and have them connect with another person. And that has everyone feel more connected. And as a speaker, we're also a facilitator. You know, and teachers have the same thing. You have to really create a community. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I see Elisa's unmuted. Well, I didn't get to see you, but it's great hearing your voice.
So
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I saw Miranda had posted some questions. Franklin, are you able to read those?
Oh, here, let me look. Yeah, so Miranda asked, what do you recommend for a background with Zoom? There's a couple questions. What about lighting, and is it important to add light source when on a Zoom?
Yes, lots of great questions regarding lighting. Zoom is horrible with, some of you guys who have chimed in are my friends. Thank you. And you know my apartment is like, there's lights coming from everywhere. In fact, what I had to do was pull a curtain, because if this was pulled open, you would see that I've got, like, you know, basically a view of Piper Park and the water and sun streaming in. So I've had to, with the location that I have, cover everything that's behind me and make it dark. And then I don't have any light source on me right now because there's enough available light just coming streaming in through the windows. Let's say it's at night, however, then you'd want to have a light source coming from behind or slightly to the side. With my own computer, I'm sort of in this little office cubby hole kind of thing. I put a couple of different lights on either side of my computer, and I don't have them splashed right on my face. I sort of have them just so it throws a little bit of spill. But you can put your camera feature on and play around with it before you get on Zoom and you're like live, and then you can kind of play around and see whether the lighting is sharp or soft. You want a slightly soft lighting, and also just get rid of all the distractions behind you. So for instance, I found these flowers that were on my dining room table, so I brought them over just to add a pop of color, you know, just anything that might be distracting. Another thing I heard recently was putting some books in the background makes it look like you're more intelligent. So that, so that's another thing you could do, you know, some colorful books. We don't even see necessarily on Zoom what's written on them, but just something that's nice pop of color behind you. But clear away, I don't recommend now Franklin's got a lot of pictures behind him. Now, I actually don't recommend necessarily having a lot of pictures. I mean, I do see that you have a great social life there, Franklin. But what I would recommend is more just clear that away, get some nice flowers, and oh, my Roomba is talking to me. Get some flowers, get some books, you know, just have, you know, sort of limited distractions, shall we say.
So we had another question. What are good ways to practice public speaking, even when you do not have any events coming up, i.e. just practicing to practice?
Okay, so I don't know if that person's willing to do a little bit of chat with me, but I do have.
Well, I can allow you to talk, Kim. So I'm going to allow you to talk.
Hey, Kim.
You can unmute you.
Hi.
Hey. Good to see you. Not literally, but.
Sure. So the reason I'm asking is because my son, who's also 17, I want him to be more comfortable speaking with people, not like, yeah, and so I want him to read your book because I've already read it, and just ideas of how he can practice, you know, other than just standing in a room looking at a wall pretending you're giving a presentation. So I'm just wondering if there's any creative ways to get more comfortable speaking, because a lot of the people that I love sports, so I've noticed that, like Megan Rapinoe, who's a star soccer player, she's very articulate when she speaks, and it's great. She's done a lot of commentating. So I'm just, you know, anyway, I'm trying to find more ways to give him ideas of how to practice it.
Well, you're in a family scenario right now, and I imagine still sheltering in place. So that I imagine your son is home for dinners often.
Right.
I imagine being a teenage boy, he's probably home eating quite a lot. So, it starts with just, if he's already extremely uncomfortable with just speaking to other people, then having him, I would say, either create a family meeting or just have something where in your dinners, each of you go around the family and each talk about something that happened that was positive during your day. And, that you just say, listen, we're as a family, we're all going to do this. We're all going to talk about something for 2 minutes about that we thought was great about our day. And then we'll go to the next person, and it also creates a culture of positivity. But that would be one thing I would do. And, because I get it, believe me, teenagers are sort of, they grunt and they nod and that's about it, if you're lucky, so definitely anything that will get them out of their shell. Now, I would assert also he's using Snapchat a lot. I would assert that he probably is quite talkative. He's just not talkative with you. What do you think? Do you think that would be a fair assessment?
Well, it's just he and I, so he actually gets a lot of talking with me. I'm just looking more ahead of, because wanting him to be able to present in front of people with a comfort when he goes off to college. So I feel for a teenager, he's quite good talking to other adults and our neighbors, because it's just been him and I, so he's used to adults. I think it's more, I want him to be able to speak in front of people, or just with more comfort. In terms
Absolutely.
of, I think it's a lot of it, as I was saying, I've heard athletes who have done commentating on TV and just how articulate they are. So one of the things I said, he plays tennis, is pretend you're commentating on a tennis match, put the mute on and do that, just to get the comfort of really thinking quickly on your feet about what to say. Anyway, this is just me trying to have him develop skills during COVID that that I deem important and he might not.
Yes, yeah, if he doesn't have an interest, it's going to be, really, trying to get blood out of a stone. But if he is motivated, let's say he wants to practice an interview for college, I always recommend, at the very least, recording oneself. If you don't want to do, and of course all of us have got smartphones now, we can all record ourselves. Or if he doesn't want to do that, just turn on the audio, one of the audio recording apps, right? Mm-hmm. And practice interview. And maybe he's got some written down, some interview questions. So, you can find a bunch online. What are interview questions for college? Or you can fire those questions at him and he can answer. And again, with the phone, have it recorded. He gets to play it back and see himself and how he did. And then, because, nobody wants to hear from their mother about what they did right and wrong. The great thing with recording it is it's right there. You can see for yourself how well you did or didn't do. So that would be a good start. I do recommend coaching. I just worked recently with somebody who had a really important job interview, and we did several practice sessions on Zoom and got the background, got everything going. What are you wearing? The whole deal, and practiced how to come across naturally and hit the main points.
Great. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Good to hear you.
You too.
So were there any more questions? Well, it doesn't look like there's any more questions. So I'd like to, unless you have more to say, Andrea, I thank you for joining us. This was a great opportunity. Again, too, once I would still like to have you come back once COVID is over and we can see people in person again. We'd love to have you come back and talk about this. This is, I think, again, like I said, a great way of this is a great book for people like myself who get nervous talking in front of people. There, like I said, a lot of great tidbits in here that you can read over and over again. And like you're saying, we all have to practice. We have to practice talking about what we're passionate about. I think one more question popped in. Oh, thanks, Alyssa. But,
thanks.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just, this has been a great opportunity, Andrea, and I'm so happy that I just found you on Nextdoor. I'm congratulations on publishing your book. I look forward to your next book and this series now, because I'm so curious about this adventure you had traveling the country on your bike. So this is, you have so much more to tell us and so much more stories to share that
How much
really
time do you have?
This is your first book and not your last book. So I really am looking forward to see what other things that you write and working on. And I guess the only thing would be to talking about, you're a career woman, you're busy, you're doing all sorts of different things. And being an author, how have you carved out time for yourself to write? And how are you writing?
I am the worst procrastinator. In fact, once I got this book campaign up on Publishizer, and then I was approached by a bunch of different publishers who wanted to publish my book. And even then, it took me another 2 years to get it to like see the light of day, because it was crazy, because I do work in film production as well, and I had like a crazy busy year right once I decided to get the book going. Then all these other things happened. There's I just read this recently. You get endorphins when you complete a task. And sometimes we just have to trick ourselves. We just have to set aside a little bit of time and just go, just for the next 30 minutes or the next hour, I'm just going to do that. And then you will actually get energized by the fact that you did that. And then you'll want to do more of it. So, I had the skin in the game for me was that I had a bunch of people, dear friends, who had supported me in pre-ordering a copy of the book. And then they'd be like, where's the book? I was like, I just got to get it done. So this is the book for those folks who have not seen it or ordered it yet, but it's not a huge investment, and it will help you get camera ready and ready to face anything as far as public speaking.
So thank you again, and thank you all for joining us. And like I said, I look forward to see what you have coming next. And again, thank you, Andrea, for doing this and being willing to be our first local author that we've had in our Zoom meeting. So I hope everybody has a great afternoon and a great weekend. And thank you again, Andrea. And don't forget, everybody, go out and buy her book or put a copy on hold and check it out. So, and thanks, Andrea. You have a great afternoon, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Franklin, and it was a pleasure. And thank you for putting this venue forward.
Thanks. You guys all have a great afternoon, and thank you again, everybody. Bye.